Ivan Koloff, he set the bar so high for everybody that nobody could reach it.
Ivan Koloff was a hard worker, traveled all over the world, was in the top probably 5 professional wrestlers in the whole business all of his career.
When I think of Ivan Koloff, the Russian Bear, I think of box office. Ivan was one of the most successful guys in the wrestling business. When you put Ivan Koloff on the marquee, that meant big business for the promoter.
He is one of the really true legends. There's a lot of legends, but some are more legendary than others. He's up there with the best.
Ivan was one of the, you know, we throw the term legendary around a lot, and icons, and you know, all these different terms in wrestling, in and outside of wrestling. But I believe there's no doubt that Ivan Koloff left his mark in professional wrestling as one of the really, not just a pioneer, but an extraordinary man who made everybody who he got in the ring, he made every wrestler who he wrestled, regardless of their level of skills and abilities, look good.
One of the most terrifying bad guys of all time. When you mention the name of Ivan Koloff, you see the days of when fans and other wrestlers feared the bad guy, feared the opponent. And if I were a wrestler in one corner and Ivan Koloff were in the other corner, I'd be afraid, because the man just exuded fear.
He was always one of my favorites as far as to wrestle with, because I felt that when I wrestled him, we give the people their money's worth, because every time I wrestled him, believe me, we beat the heck out of each other.
In professional wrestling, there's just a few guys that really nobody has anything bad to say about. And of course, Ivan Koloff's the top of the list.
Out of all the time I've spent with him and the people I know that know him, I don't know that I've ever heard a crossword about Ivan Koloff. He was the consummate worker, the consummate professional, and was business-minded, while at the same time wanted to entertain the fans. And so he was a pretty amazing wrestler.
Ivan Koloff not only drew money every place he went, but he was respected by everyone in the business.
Every night when that bell rang, he was 110%. And it wasn't for Ivan Koloff, it was for the fans and the other wrestlers that he wrestled with. He did it because he wanted the match to be the best match it was. And that's the kind of guy he was. He's the Russian Bear, the toughest guy in the world, and he's a great guy.
If there were 7 or 7,000, he was a pro from the time he stepped into the ring to the time he stepped out.
The man who beat Bruno Sammartino, man, you know, the living legend.
Gave him great publicity. He's the guy who beat Bruno Sammartino. He's the guy who took the title from this guy who fought everybody, and 8 years later, he was still champion, until Ivan Koloff came around.
One unforgettable dot in wrestling history, that it's the biggest dot ever, and that's the night that he beat Bruno Sammartino. Ivan Koloff will go down in history as the one man who did what no one else could after all that time, is defeat the legend, the living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
I don't think he has gotten the credit that he has, and the testament to Ivan Koloff is if Bruno dropped his belt to you, then enough said.
Was a top wrestler everywhere he went, overseas. Was a great man, a great worker, one of the hardest wrestling workers I've ever seen. Was very convincing. He would do anything in the ring for you. He'd make you look great, and he's always had a good match with Ivan Koloff. Never, never, never would have a bad match against Ivan Koloff.
Ivan Koloff, he deserves every Hall of Fame, you know, that there is.
Ivan definitely needs to be in the Hall of Fame. He is, he's the old-time wrestler. He's the real thing. He's one of the reasons why wrestling is like where it is today.
For us, Ivan Koloff, like you say, of course he belongs in there. He was a world champion. I don't care if he was a world champion for 2 days. He was the world champion. They have a lot of, but besides being a world champion, you can't forget that even. It's a question of how big he was in the wrestling business. Ivan was very, very big in the wrestling business.
Ivan Koloff should be able to be in any Hall of Fame, any and every Hall of Fame in professional wrestling. He should be in every one of them, because if anybody knows anything about professional wrestling, they know Ivan Koloff, and he deserves to be in all of them, any and all of them. Ivan deserves to be in the WWE and any of them overseas, in this country, anything, he deserves to be in all of them.
When they look back on the career of Ivan Koloff, they'd see a man who made one of the most amazing contributions to wrestling as anybody has ever done.
I love him. He's one of my favorite people in the whole world.
He is going to be remembered as one of the greatest heels of all time in the wrestling business. Someone whose character was so dynamic in a wrestling business where characters are all important. The name Ivan Koloff will live on forever.
How do you want to be remembered as a wrestler?
I think just the idea that, yeah, I think just the way they're looking at me now, that I suppose, ended up, whether they say it's the right place at the right time or just very fortunate or whatever, but I think I earned my stripes type of thing by being in it so long, all the injuries I got, that I think that the idea that I've made so many friends, I can't really think of any enemies. I have so many people, and even among the fans, that end up talking to me with a lot of respect and, and looking up to me, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't feel necessarily deserve all that, but I just feel that it's something that I cherish, because it's something I wanted to do all my life.